Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of my Cincinnati Reds Draft to Glory franchise mode series. It's episode 2, and in this episode, we look to finish up our first season at the helm of the Reds. The main highlight, at least what I hope to be the highlight, will be the year 2 draft. I hope to go through a full calendar year. We have the Rule 5 draft coming up in the offseason, where again, we're allowed to take one pitcher and one position player, and then it's right back into scouting. Whatever happens with our roster, we really don't have to care. Of course, we needed to fill out the roster with a bunch of very low overall players and some guys who could boost up the starting budget just by actually, having a bit of a salary. That said, the last episode was capped off with our year 1 draft. We got Steven Ryder, Will Vincent, Gustavo Gonzalez, a very strong starting core. At the very least, very strong. I'm not saying excellent, right? But it's a damn good start. We got some bullpen help as well on the way with Vincent, Boyle, and Ramos. Only one player that we swung and missed on, that being Stephen Bichette. So let's go ahead and get down to business, shall we? Matter of fact, we'll just go from the calendar. It'll be fine. We'll maybe take a look. Do we care about All-Stars? I don't know if we do. Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's get to the off-season as quickly as we can. Yoenis Cespedes was traded straight up for James Paxton, so there you go. But I'll be intrigued to see what happens in this offseason as Albert Pujols goes down for 2 to 3 months. He's playing in AAA. Feel pretty bad about that, but of course we've left the roster management for this season to the AI. I'll be intrigued to see how the offseason goes. Jesus Christ, the amount of pop-ups from the amount of injuries. I'll be intrigued to see how the offseason goes, where of course we'll be letting go of the majority of the players. Wow, this is an insane amount of injuries. It might just be due to the fact that everyone's so low rated and we have so many veterans, but this is insane. We haven't even made it 3 weeks yet. Jesus, welcome to July. Oh my God. It's like taking a trip on the Oregon Trail, just dysentery every 2 minutes. What is going on? Jose Barrios traded to the Royals from the Tigers, so the Tigers making some moves. Kyle Schwarber and Julio Urias on the move. Interesting decision there for the Royals, who I can't imagine are in an extreme competitive mood. The Mets are interested in offering me a trade. I am not willing to listen, even, of course, if they are looking to trade me a veteran who's not going to be around. It's not all that big of a deal, so we'll move past the All-Star game finally, and I'll be intrigued to see what we can do. Now, admittedly, we could just put a little sneaky jump cut into there once we get to the end of the season, and you know what? If this amount of injury, you know what? Yeah, screw it. Too many injuries. I will, for the first time, and normally, of course, if you watch what I do normally, I do a lot in long form. I like to show you guys the entire process, but this is ridiculous. So I'll see you guys at the end of the playoffs, and then we'll go through the offseason. You know what's a fantasy draft series when in year 1, the Diamondbacks are sweeping the Orioles in the World Series? As you get a look at the bracket, we, of course, did not make the playoffs. And when it comes to looking at the standings, I'll give you guys a quick look for those who care. I mean, you kind of know where everyone ended up being, but I'll give you a quick look. We'll take a look at the awards, and then we are off to the team building process. So Andrew McCutchen, World Series MVP, which is actually pretty sweet. Postseason MVP is what I want to look at next. Jay Bruce and Brandon Belt led the way there. AL MVP was Mike Trout on the Red Sox. In the NL, it was Bryce Harper on the Pirates. Cy Young went to Chris Sale and Max Scherzer, so Scherzer's dominance continues. Batting title to Joey Votto and Bryce Harper. Reliever of the year, Kelvin Herrera and Andrew Miller. Rookie of the year, Shohei Ohtani and Tyler O'Neill. Hank Aaron Award, Bryce Harper and Mike Trout. As far as the Gold Gloves are concerned, I'm not too concerned, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Silver Sluggers as well. So, with that, I know I haven't given you guys like a full look to see, okay, who's where. I mean, you could see Mookie's in St. Louis, but as far as looking at MLB records, we'll do that a couple of seasons down the road. Top prospects we'll get a look at next year. Doesn't really matter at this point. So with that, let's go ahead and sim to the offseason. Thank God we'll be able to bring in some new team staff because we desperately need it. And the majority of our roster has retired as planned. I'm not even going to sit here and name anybody. We just lost a lot of players, which was always the plan. So that is pretty hilarious. No Hall of Fame inductees this year, though. So first things first, we need a manager and a third base coach. Who is available? Perry Hill, batting clutch, power, reaction, and break. That's not terrible. I would prefer a coach with all A's. And admittedly, Ilya's not bad. Contact, reaction, and home run. Fielding speed, power, and hits. -1 arm strength. We do have a couple of A grades that aren't too bad. I don't think there's anyone here that I'd want to have as our manager for an extreme amount of time. I do kind of like the +2 fielding from Feliz. To me, it comes down to Feliz, Elia, or Hill. And, might be Perry Hill. Perry Hill's the oldest, though. Ilya is 39, 62. You know, I think we'll go for, Feliz, Hill. Let's go for Jay Feliz for now. Regardless of whatever one of the two we were to sign, it's not like they'd be the long-term solution with their age. They're going to retire sooner rather than later. We are going to have to offer Feliz a decent amount of money, but that's not a big deal at all. Let's go $6.2 million a year. Is that enough? That should be. And then it was what, third base coach? It was. What do we have here? Hirsch, no thank you. -2 arm strength, -3 arm strength, -2 fielding. Is there someone who's, minus as an A grade at least isn't terrible? Or, doesn't have a minus at all? Hey, there we go. Darnell Traherne or Marcus Rosen. Speed and fielding, arm strength, accuracy. I'm going to go off of reaction instead of speed, so we'll be signing up Darnell here, hopefully, as our third base coach. Just go up to $1.5 million a season. That should be enough. And we're good to go. As far as all these free agents are concerned, we're just going to let them walk, and we'll see if they end up actually signing anywhere. So, no compensation for them, but in the future, we'll be allowed to take a look and potentially get compensation. Traherne has signed. Have we gotten our manager? Hopefully. Yes, we have. Jay Feliz has signed on. So as far as this roster is concerned, literally everybody is going to be allowed to walk. Losing someone in the Rule 5 doesn't matter. Players without contracts doesn't matter. We just go straight to the Rule 5, and then we fill out this roster during spring training once all the top guys are gone. Bryce Harper also a free agent in year 1, as expected. So we shall see. But every single one of these players are gone. So we are good to advance. Andrew Miller signs with the Cubs. Zach Britton to the Nats. Sean Doolittle's a Giant. 40-man roster must be set. No, keep going. We're good. We are good. Let them walk. We'll set up this roster. Let's see. Another stop. Just get me to the Rule 5, man. Ottavino goes to the Yankees. Josh Donaldson to Baltimore. No, I would not like to stop simming. David Price and Jorge Solar traded to the Diamondbacks for Fernando Tatis Jr. Interesting trade. Good trade for the Rangers to get rid of that Price contract, although I love him. World Series champion, after all. Yes, for the record, for those who don't know, Red Sox fan. Jose Iglesias goes to the Rangers. Daniel Murphy to Seattle. Brantley to the Brewers. And we have arrived. Manny Machado to the Astros. Goddamn glory hunter. All right, let's see what happens here. We get the second pick, and Oakland didn't make a selection. So we have a good opportunity to find someone here. So pitching-wise, we're going to want to look for a prospect, and the name that jumps out immediately is Alex Fado. Would it be Fado or Fido? I'm going to go with Fado. Fado. Yeah, let's go with Fado. He would be the best option from the looks of it. I don't think that's really a debate. Fernando Romero would be a decent substitute, but unless there's someone younger than a 23, Brendan McKay would also work. 23A and a 68 against a 23A and a 69. So we have two very strong starting pitchers that we could choose between. AJ Puck is there as well, and there's not going to be anybody younger, I don't believe. As far as a reliever is concerned, we really don't need to bring anybody in with the draft that we just had. I mean, we have our trio here. So, yeah, I think for our pitcher, we'll absolutely look to take one of those guys. But let's see if a more pressing issue is our position player. As far as a younger option, Tomas Nido is there. 24B and a 66, but that's not exactly ideal. At first, do we have a decent option? Not really. Second base, Joe Panik is there. Interesting. He would be of immediate help to this lineup. It doesn't have to be a prospect that we take here. Nido could work, but he's not exactly the ideal prospect. He's certainly a defense-first catcher. At first, there was nobody. Joe Panik could be the best way to go. If we don't take him, Riley Unruh, well, actually, no, in fairness, it'd be Kevin Biggio, who would be the next best option, even over Shed Long. So we could go for the instant game changer in Joe Panik, or we could take Kevin Biggio. At third, hello, Michael Chavis. Right, Biggio's 23B and a 69. Chavis is 23A and a 67. That's a tough call. I still think Panik might be the way to go, but there are some good project players here. Nobody at shortstop. Nobody in left, from the looks of it at least, that compared to the options we already have. In center, nobody there. And in right, Dylan Cozens, which is pretty funny as a hockey fan. But, yeah. All right, so we have our options. And really, for me, it's pitching-wise, it's kind of straightforward. But I think I have to take Joe Panik. Maybe. Ah, man. Biggio, in 5 years, you're going to go up 10 overall points. Same for Chavis, you're going to go up 12. That's a really tough call. Do we take someone who could be useful on this roster for years to come, or do we take a project who might make it or might not? Damn. Our first real tough decision. Kevin Biggio would be nice as a utility player, but Joe Panik at 28. By the time we're good, he might not be. So, we'll go... I'm going to go for Chavis just because he has a higher ceiling. Biggio, I'd say, is more likely to be decent, but I'm going to go for Chavis just for the chance of that higher ceiling because of that A potential. So we will take Michael Chavis as our position player, and we'll also take a starting pitcher here. And that'll be that, and it'll be Alex Faedo. So Chavis and Faedo, welcome to the team. We'll just mark down your names here as the guys that we took, just to make sure we don't accidentally get rid of you at a later date. And from there, we'll forego our other options. So, there you go. That is how we're going to handle the Rule 5 draft every single year. One position player, one pitcher, could be a starter, reliever, does not matter. And we're good to go from there. We'll sim to renewable contracts. And again, we're still fine. To spring training we go. And we are fine. So, give me a moment. I'm going to have to go through and sort out this roster. We really don't have too many other players left that we took. Ian Kennedy, David Wright, Pujols, Brian Densing are still here. But our first batch of prospects have joined the team. I need to fill out this roster with other terrible players. So, give me a few moments to do that. We'll be right back, and we will sim to the Year 2 draft. All right, we are good to go. Before we sim to the start of the season, we do need to take a look at a couple of scout contracts to see if there's anybody better. And we also already lost a scout to retirement. So we do need to bring on an international scout. Between these two scouts in the East, we are going to go with Guardado for the moment just because of that higher efficiency rating. So the best international scouts, I mean, Matthews is certainly up there. He has the higher efficiency, and I think it's got to be Alberto Matthews who we're going to bring on for Urbina. As far as the Central is concerned, Jesus, that's a low efficiency rating. It's not bad, but Eric Leach is pretty good, actually, so he will stay. From the West, Reggie McConnell will be keeping his job somehow. Jeez, that efficiency and discovery of James Hughes is brutal. Absolutely brutal. In fairness, Castro, higher discovery, but it doesn't make it worth it to fire McConnell. And from the East, Moreno, crazy efficiency, discovery slightly weaker. Yeah, Guardado's actually not that bad either. So there we go. The scout situation has been sorted. We do still have the roster control under the AI's oversight, we'll say, for lack of a better term. Those are the grades for us. It's not a good situation in the slightest. But there we go. We got 25 men everywhere. So keep in mind, the only pitchers that we care about, Alex Fido and Gustavo Gonzalez, who will both be in the majors this season, which concerns me for obvious reasons. But rather than having to handle call-ups, whatever, it is what it is. And both are listed in the top 50 prospects. In terms of relievers, we only care about our big three, Boyle, Vincent, and Ramos, all of whom are still in the majors at the moment. Michael Chavis, of course, will be a guy that we keep an eye on. He's in the majors this year. Ray Rosario in left and Steven Ryder in right. So every single player that we have drafted thus far happened to be starting this season off in the majors. I'm intrigued to see how it goes, and every single one of the position players, all three of them, are starting. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes. In terms of the top prospect list, Steven Ryder is listed as 9th. So, again, if you needed some extra confirmation that he's looking pretty damn good, there you go. Next up on the list for us is Chavis at 32. Not bad. And Fido at 34. So, not too bad. Getting 2 top 34 prospects for nothing. I'll take it. The Rule 5 draft is going to be crucial for us. And those are the only 3. Actually, wait a minute. Didn't we have a pitcher there? Didn't we not have a pitcher there? I could have sworn that Gonzalez was listed, but that's okay. It's all good. So again, you look at our ratings, dead last in everything. You can tell how bad of a season this is going to be. That said, it's time for everyone's favorite, setting up the scouting, which, again, if I wanted to, I could sit here and be like, okay, now I'm just going to jump cut to the draft. I could make it through 5 seasons in one episode off of jump cuts. At the very least, too, you'll be able to say, hey, you're an idiot. You didn't scout this guy. And then you'll see in the draft, oh, okay, well, the guy I wanted you to scout went to New York. And then you can tell me in the comments, hey, go check out the Yankees, check out this prospect so I can prove to you that you're an idiot and you need to keep an eye on this. So that's why we handle it the long way. But international-wise, and that way, too, we can kind of follow along with what we're doing in the season. And, of course, there's always the option of ye old skip button if this kind of slower pace scouting isn't exactly for you. And like I said, I get it. I get it. It is what it is, but this is definitely the best method. And like I said, I like being told I'm wrong and what to look out for. We did have a solid first draft, but that's not to say that I'm going to consistently do well by any stretch of the imagination. As we picked up our first win of the season, we'll try to get as much done as we can here in terms of discovery. We already suffered our first big injury. Let me tell you, it took me a lot longer to finally wrap up that last season than I cared to admit. It was still injury after injury, at least until Double and Triple A finished up, as Bruce Boyle's going to miss a week or two. The head contusion, was it? To be honest, I just kind of blanked it. I'm like, he's hurt for a week or two. And then I'm like, oh, it's a player I should care about. That's unfortunate. Look at us. 4 wins on the year. Look out. The big red machine's back already. It's not. It's going to take a while. But it is funny to see us win games. As Domingo Ramirez in AAA, his season is over. And if he's an older player, his career is over. Because that is a brutal, brutal injury. As we'll finish scouting out pitchers here, or discovering pitchers. Jake Peters is still hurt as well. The fact that we have 5 wins on the season already is pretty ridiculous. I am going to look at the stats on the season just before we get to the draft. We'll have the draft be the kind of finale of the episode, but I'm intrigued to see what the main stats look like, what the stat lines happen to look for or look like with our set of prospects. As I knew I botched something there. I was like, wait a minute, didn't I mess up there? And I did. I wanted to go, I completely botched that. No, there we go. Fielding and arm strength. I looked back and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just botched that. Normally I go arm strength first, but we'll have fielding first. As Bruce Boyle is just about back from injury, and apparently there are just no catchers in that region. Let's go power contact. Power contact. Are you done with catchers in general? You are. So we'll move you over to the infield. Let's go fielding and arm strength. Maybe find some decent third base and shortstop options. And let's go power and contact. The next 2 days, Ryan Metzler. We don't have to care about you, but man, we are having some players go down to injury. Justin Ha as well. Another 1 to 2 month injury. I mean, granted, we don't hire a trainer, but man, if we did, he'd be fired right about now. Injury prevention. Maybe we're just, maybe it's just that bad of luck. But in terms of injury prevention, not looking too good right about now. Fielding and arm strength. Let's go with speed and contact, or not. Wow, all infielders have already been discovered. McConnell, what are you doing here? Like, there's nothing for you to do, apparently. Let's go fielding and arm strength for everybody, for that matter. So there you go. McConnell, just no prospects to find, apparently. Domingo Ramirez, again, you might as well just hang the cleats up, buddy. You're pretty much done. Let's go for infield. Let's go with speed and contact across the board, or contact and speed, I should say, as far as the outfield is concerned. Let's go speed and contact. And Guardado, let's go with contact and speed, because that's not confusing at all. Least importantly to me, right? 5-17 on the season, by the way. All right, let's switch this up. Let's go power contact. Whoops, infield still. Power contact. Outfield-wise, power contact, and infield-wise, let's go with ye old power contact. Sweet. So after this batch, McConnell will be good to start scouting prospects. And we'll have him, granted, of course, he hasn't found everybody, but we'll have him check out. Let's have him check out. I don't like the look of Molina, but still, we'll have him check him out just because of the dot. So then outfield-wise, let's go fielding and arm strength. Outfield, fielding and arm strength. Outfield, fielding and arm strength. Beautiful. So let's continue to go 2 days at a time for the moment. We pick up another minor injury, and Ryan Metzler's still hurt. 6 wins, 19 losses on the year. Let's go speed and contact. Whoops. Speed and contact. Guardado, speed and contact. McConnell, go ahead and take a look at Kionis, and we'll see what we find there. We are just about done in terms of discovery. 39 days out from the draft, so we're still leaving ourselves a plenty of time. We're on the final few reports here, looking for the final few outfielders. And let's see. Vern Norman, 20 years old, 4+ years away. We'll still have McConnell. Take a look at him. So let's send the next 2 days. Dario Pisano's out for a month or two. He's not a crucial player for us. We're 37 days out from the draft. And now we're going to have every single scout turn their attention to looking at the prospects we've already found. We'll start off with Kraus, Juan Bautista, and William Hong, 23, 4+ years away. We'll avoid, so let's go with Camarada. Another reliever, looking like there are some decent relievers in this draft. I almost made that mistake, but I didn't. Roman Rankin will be the next that we take a look at. So, we will change it up. Let's go 1 day at a time. Let's go 1 day at a time. Now, see, that's what I thought. It is going to bring it just a yellow bar. That's why I normally go 2. Especially, if our scouts were a little bit better in terms of efficiency, I think we could get away with 1 day at a time. But I think for now we are going to have to rely on 2. A lot of pitching talent here listed towards the top. But, again, for the moment, we're not looking for help in any specific position. We just need to try and draft the best players available. Even then, with 2 days, we're still at a yellow bar for some of the guys we've looked at. But, let's see. What do you think? Will we hit 10 wins before the draft? I'm thinking that's not going to happen, just from the looks of it. We'll take a look, too. Not that we need closers, but, bolstering up that bullpen. I'm not against running multiple closers. Up until they complain about not being the closer, in terms of expectation, we can get away with it. Take a look at Barton, Katz, Helm, and Napoleon Fisher. Phenomenal name. Let's take a look at him. Pisano's still hurt. And every time that pops up, I'm cool, another injury, just because of how last season went. We'll continue. Oops, that was really weird. Let's look at Villegas. We'll continue to look at Diaz until we have a full report. Stacy and Esposito. How many 80s do we have here? A lot. A lot. Doesn't seem like it was as many as last year, though, which is good news for us. As Ray Rosario, that's not good news for us. He's going to miss a month or two out of this season. So our primary left fielder right now will be taking a seat. Let's get a full report. Actually, no, let's not. Let's just try to get as much info as we can here. We'll avoid Diaz, Preston Hurst, Willie Medeiros, and Julian Lewis. We can leave yellow bars for the moment, just to try and make as much progress as we can. We're a little over 3 weeks out from the draft, so we still have a bit of work to do. But let's try and get at least some information on as many of the 80 potentials as we can before we finalize the information on the yellow bars. So we will continue. Parsons is back. We have a massive homestand coming up, too, I just noticed. Not that I expect us to do well, but still interesting to know. Kevin Arellano. Let's take a look at Wallace, Rorabaugh, and Dylan Klug. The Klugs. PJ Conlon out for a while still. Not a surprise. We do have 9 wins, so I think we will, in fact, hit 10 before the draft, which wasn't looking likely just a few minutes ago. Hong will avoid. Reggie Dow and Pedro Cortez will take a look at. Sim these first 2 games against Kansas City, where we split them. Taylor Clark is out, and Ray Rosario is still going to be out for a month or two, as I just punched my desk. Landed right in between the pinky and ring finger knuckle. Great feeling, let me tell you. Yep, I'm not in pain. I'm not in pain at all. I'm doing well. It's great. Don't worry about it. Let's see who else here. Rob Allswede. The good old Allswedes, as we are just over 2 weeks out from the draft. Jason Pepper will take a look at. Fredrickson we can avoid. Let's take a look at Marty Mead and Omar Arroyo. I'm surprised we still have some 80s that we don't have any information on, really. Next 2 games against San Francisco, they end up sweeping us. We do get our 10th win, though, before that series. Is there anybody else here? We got Fernando Perez. Anybody else that's a red bar? Anthony Sweeney. We have Jesse Arias and Hector Varela. So, wow, we're going to have a hard time getting exact information on everybody here. And, of course, that is the one downside to having as many weak scouts as we do in terms of efficiency. But we should have at least enough info on the majority of these 80 potentials to be able to make the right decision, I would hope. We still have 10 days, make it 9 before the draft, where we look to add, hopefully, the guys that will play alongside the likes of Steven Ryder and Ray Rosario for the next decade plus. Johnny Dominique. Is there anybody else? Hong will still avoid. Casey Diaz as a starter. Marco Pedroza at short. We actually are down into the 75s. It's a tough call. Now, do I look at the rest of the 75s or try to get exact info on the 80s? And I think I have to try and get exact info on the 80s. I think I do. We got to aim high here. So I'm going to have a change of plan here. And where did we dip into the 75s? It was after Dominique. Okay. So let's see if we can get a full report here. We'll go a day at a time for these guys from here on out. That should be enough to at least get them the green bar. That's all I'm looking for. Just get them the green bar. It doesn't have to be max bar. We don't really have the time for that. So we'll take a look at everyone. What is happening? Please? There we go. That was super weird. And we'll try to get as much green bar info as we can, one day at a time, as we are a week out from the draft. 12 wins on the year. So obviously, losing the players that we did, losing a roster's worth of players to retirement has changed the outlook of this team. Obviously, last year we overperformed for that reason. But like I said, with the budget-wise, we wanted to make sure that we had a very solid cash flow once we actually started to fill out this roster. Accidentally simmed 2 days. It's a matter of habit. Let's take a look at Wallace, Lewis, Villegas, and Gutierrez. We'll go 1 day there. The draft is in 4. Who else? Napoleon Fisher. Get a full report on you. Camerata. Yeah, that'd be Camerata. I was double checking the name. Damian Bale in center. Okay, so there you go. Not that many 80s left, but we will have some 75s and lower that we do end up having information on, but at least we're going to have the full report here with the greens. So as far as the 75s are concerned, let me take a look. We have a couple of catchers that are at a 75, a couple of first basemen that we do have some info on. I was going to sit there and look to be like, okay, well, what position do we really not have much info on? Like second base, for example. So taking a look at Barry Franklin is going to be a good idea. So we're 3 days out. Let's take a look here. So we'll take that extra look. So again, catchers, we have a couple of guys. We don't have the full report on everybody, but we at least have info on a couple of catchers. Whereas, first baseman, we at least have some info on a few of them, including Vladimir Mesa, who's going to be selected very early on. At second, still nobody that great. Unfortunately, it might not just be a great draft there. At third, you do have Lee Wilkins, who we'll take a look at. Strong option for the 75 overalls. There is also Johnny Belcher, who's looking like he'll be ready next year, but let's see if there's anybody better. Could get full info on Roderick Floyd, but we'll pass. At shortstop, let's take a look at Carmine Salinas. And we'll also take a look at Pedroza. Maybe, if it wants to work. There we go. And in the outfield, is there someone who looks like they might be can't miss? Cordero is looking like he'll be ready next year. We'll go ahead and get info on him. Let's go 2 days here. We'll set up our final bit of scouting, and then we'll take a look at the season stats thus far, and we'll be good to go. So we at least have them in terms of yellow. And we'll go down to the 75s here. And let's see. Actually, let's look at ETA. Well, let's look at the old estimated time of arrival. So here in the 2020s, there's actually a lot of them who are listed for 2020. All right, well, that's not going to help. But in terms of the then 75s, we're looking for the that much younger options. We're looking for like 18, 19, and 20-year-olds at a 75, which is proving to be quite rare. There we go. Lenny O'Neill as a reliever. Montez was at the top. Is there anybody else? Roger Samuel. And the last one. There we go. Charlie LaFave. So those will be the final few guys that we look to scout out. Let's take a look at the roster, at least the guys that we care about. So Alex Fado, not terrible. I mean, he's winless on the year, but a 3.72 ERA is not that bad. He's listed at a 70. He is actually a 70 overall, so it's a little bit weak, but he's doing okay. There are some positives there too in terms of attribute development, so we're looking good on that front. And Gustavo Gonzalez still pitching here in the majors as well. Some development. He's a 66, but down to a 64 due to morale. 22 years old, though. We'll keep an eye on him, of course. He has that solid potential, but isn't exactly a guarantee. And as far as his stats for this season, a 4.57 ERA, which again, you look at his overall, the fact that he has wins and the ERA isn't like over a 6 is kind of phenomenal. Closing-wise, Guillermo Ramos, the whip actually isn't that bad. It's not too bad. 65, having some development. It's not terrible for an 18-year-old. Bruce Boyle, yikes. There you go. That's more what I expect. He has been lit up this season. A couple of minuses in the overall as well. Not ideal. He's a 68 playing like a 64. Not happy about being underpaid. And then Will Vincent, of course, if we had this team set up in a better way, these guys wouldn't be pissed off about being underpaid because they'd be in the minors. Vincent as well hasn't exactly had a great season, but some developments. 68 playing like a 63. At third base, Chavis. Not bad. 7 home runs, 23 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and a 2.39 average. Some positives across the board. At least satisfied player morale-wise. Not too bad. In left, we know Ray Rosario's hurt. Had a 2.34 average on the way out. Couple of positives, some minus in contact against lefties, but not all that bad. And then Steven Ryder, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and a 2.42 average. Couple of positives across the board. and not bad, playing like a 67, as he should be. So that is the update on our year 1 players, but now it's time to find out who will be joining the team. Let's get to it. The year 2 draft, we somehow don't have the number 1 pick, we have the number 2, and in terms of any compensation, we do have a pick between round 2 and 3. That works for me. So Jason Comstock, a closer, goes number 1 to Oakland. Let's see who we have available here, shall we? Rodney Rorabaugh is at the top of the list, but in terms of a number 2 overall pick, the hits, the walks, the control, a little bit too low. We should be able to find somebody better. Arias, who's going to be ready next year as a starter. 60s, 70s. No, we can find somebody better. Michael Fitch, 60s. Again, not quite there. I'm sure there's somebody better. Russell Iovino, I believe it would be. A couple of 60s, 70s, a couple of 80s. Not terrible, but nothing like can't miss, I'd say, as far as a number 2 pick. I'm looking for that true game changer. And Hector Varela, if it wasn't for that 35 out of 55 and the K is per 9, might have been the guy. Roger Samwell, we don't know as much about you. I kind of wish we had that further information because you're looking like the best one so far. We'll keep him in mind. Sam Wallace, not bad, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay, so we know that there are some good starting pitchers. Center fielder Damian Bale. Hello. All right, really good contact, decent vision and discipline. The fielding leaves a bit to be desired, however. He's 21 and 4+ years away. I think for that reason, really good contact, but he's going to be one-dimensional from the looks of it. Rich Wilkins as well is 21 and 4+ years away. It's not the worst thing in the world. There are some other starters who are a tad bit more reliable. It's a clump of starting pitchers who aren't exactly, there isn't one that's setting himself apart. Alfonso Diaz, looking pretty good, but in terms of needing a closer, not exactly. Of course, Wilkins does have the tag there, of course. Let me say, of course, one more time. Vladimir Mesa. Nothing too crazy, admittedly. Just kind of well-rounded, but not anything special at the moment. But obviously you'd hope with the blue chip tag there that he's going to be something special, but I've certainly swung and missed just by being like, oh, blue chip. You're like, no, it doesn't always work. Felipe Villagas, I believe it would be. Again, as a starting pitcher, doesn't really separate himself from the rest of the pack. He's not bad, but what about Brian Lopez in left? Hello, okay. Good contact, good power, good vision and discipline, decent fielding. The arm strength and accuracy is a bit low, but look at that. Second short in every outfield spot. I think Brian Lopez right now is my favorite. Just for his ability at the plate, the speed, the versatility. I think Brian Lopez right now is my favorite because odds are we'll still be able to get one of those starters in the next round, I would hope. It's a tough call. And then we have Napoleon Fisher. Again, not anything too crazy. And that's it for the 80s. That's not to say you can't find someone even better down in the 70s. We'll take a look here. Maybe. Sean Ramirez. Yeah, you know what? Well, I think Brian Lopez has to be the guy. I really do. What about Ramirez? I know you're yellow bar, but I wasn't exactly ignoring yellow bar earlier. Ramirez, couple of 60s, couple of 80s. Not a full report, though. Julius Lewis, 45 control. No, thank you. What about Rob Alsweed? Probably not. I think that left fielder's the way to go, from the looks of it. Vern Norman can play catcher, third, and short. Well-rounded, would be a pretty good second to third round pick if he were to fall. It's not too bad. Carlos Guillen, looking amazing, but it's not a green report. But he's looking phenomenal. That would be a hell of a pickup if that's accurate. Richie Sorvala, same thing, just kind of in that general bracket for starters, and it's not a full report. Dylan Stacy as a catcher, not really feeling. I think we have our guy. I want to do my due diligence and look at everybody, and of course that way too, if I screw up and you can tell me like, hey, check to see what this guy was. Like Juan Bautista as well. Holy shit, if that's accurate, but it's not green. That's the problem. It's not green, but if that's accurate, I mean, hell, you want to talk about a future closer. There you go. What about Roderick Floyd? Not too bad. Yeah, we're gonna take that outfielder. We are 100% going to take that outfielder. There's still a lot of 75s left to check. Let's see. We had Freddie Katz. We looked at Floyd. De La Rosa is 23 and still 4 years away. 22 and 4 years away. Danny Helm at short. Nothing too special. High injury risk as well. Jason Pepper. I mean, the odds of us getting a decent starting pitcher in the second and third round is outrageously high. So, I don't think we have to worry about it right now. Tim Taylor, the tool man. Not bad either, but high injury risk ruins it. That's unfortunate. Carmine Salinas. Not terrible, especially in the fielding and power department. Good speed. Wow. Salinas as a second to third round pick, if he falls, could be great. I think I still like the outfielder a little bit more. Pedro Cortez, nothing great. Marty Brisebois, apparently Mexican. Wouldn't have guessed that, but, you know. Donnie Godwin, yeah, we have our pick. We have our pick. And then Winston Medina, also not terrible. Yep. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Brian Lopez, just in terms of well-roundedness, is my pick. We'll find out. I was going to say, let me know if that's who you would have taken with this selection, but based on what I've seen there, he's the guy. There were some pretty good starters, but there wasn't that one who I'm like, oh my god, this is a, multiple time Cy Young winner, guaranteed. There was a good reliever as well, and in fairness, it was Juan Bautista, who went one pick before I could have gotten him. So, Oakland ruined that for me, but it is what it is. I do want to sort out this column. So let's take another look here. Alfonso Diaz, 60s and 70s. Not terrible. Will Glover, really good contact, vision, and discipline. That's not bad. German-born. That's not terrible. I'd probably take Glover over Diaz just for the fact that, it's a position player that we kind of need. Shannon Quiones will not be taking, so right now Glover's still the favorite. Luis Cordero, he's 22 and 4+ years away. What about Freddie Katz? We'll look at him again. 60s, 80s, a 70, and a 55. That's not terrible. 55 is in K's. So now Glover or Katz could work. And then Sam Wallace, I'd probably prefer Katz, which is the only time I've ever said that in my life. Actually, in fairness, Wallace might be the better way to go. He's going to be ready sooner. All right, so yeah, between Glover and Wallace right now, and like I mentioned, I had a feeling we'd still have a good chance to get a half-decent starting pitcher. Doug Barton, also still eligible. And I think I like him a little bit more. So there are two first basemen that I'm keeping my eye on. So right now, Wallace is the way to go. Arellano is looking good, but definitely a fielding and speed first outfielder. Montez, also not bad, a fairly well-rounded catcher. So there's a couple of first basemen I have my eye on. Sergio Montez as a catcher is looking like a pretty damn good option. And Gene Linder, for that matter, solid power. Solid power, good speed and stealing, solid arm too in terms of arm strength. Had we not... I don't know, he's not a bad option either. There was Roderick Floyd, Lee Wilkins has crazy contact. I think we have to go for the starting pitcher, just because quite a few of them ended up off the board in that last round. And I think just in general, Wallace is probably the best of the rest. Like I said, in terms of a catcher, Montez is looking good. At first, we could get a hold of Glover or Barton. Franklin's the only second baseman left that we know anything about. And he's looking like it might not be that bad, but it's not close to a full report. At third, we have Floyd and Wilkins, where Floyd's okay, nothing great. Wilkins has that crazy contact, vision, and discipline. Wilkins is looking pretty good. So I like Montez, I like Glover or Barton, I like Wilkins. We have a good chance to get some solid infield help here. And Pedroza, field first option, not bad. So we have a really good chance to get some solid infield help. Outfield-wise, not really won over by Quiones. Cordero's looking pretty good, just in terms of the power. Arellano's not bad as a fielding first option. Linder was looking pretty good. So between Cordero and Linder, Sweeney has solid contact. Fielding and speed leaves a bit to be desired. So there's some outfielders that I'm interested in. There's some infielders that I'm interested in. A decent chance to get some relievers later on as well. But in terms of starting pitching help, wow, there's still a lot there too. In terms of players that we actually have reports on, this is a tough call, actually. This is a tough call. I think we are going to go with a starter. It'd be the third starter that we have on the unit. I mean, again, I really liked Wallace here. Is there anybody better? It's a little bit tedious, but we got to do our due diligence here. 65s. Wallace still probably wins out. Absolutely not. Dylan Klug, absolutely not. Acevedo, no. Samuel isn't terrible, but it's not a completely accurate report, and that's the problem. There are a couple of position players, almost one in each spot, that I can rely on, even still for relievers from what we've already seen and who might be left. If we're taking a starting pitcher, it needs to be now, and it's going to be Sam Wallace. The 21-year-old Texan is my pick for a starting pitcher. We'll see whether or not I regret that. And I know quite a few of the names I was just looking at happen to be off the board. So catching-wise, we're not going to be taking a catcher in this draft unless it's one of the random shots in the dark. At first, Glover and Barton are both still there. Floyd and Wilkins are both there. Rivas, Quiones, and Arellano were two that I weren't interested in. Sweeney, decent contact. Hearn. Okay, so for outfielders, Anthony Sweeney was the only one left that I was kind of interested in. The fielding, though, the speed, it's all a bit low, so I don't think we can prioritize any of them. Outfield-wise, Rivas, not really all that interested. The contact isn't... Oh, it's right, he had high injury risk. So I think it comes down to a first baseman or a third baseman here. I think that's what we're looking at. And then hopefully Samwell's still available soon. I'm going to take a look at these four closers really quickly. Esposito looking pretty damn good. Post, not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. Compton, a little bit less or so. And then Sorvala is looking pretty damn good. So, starting pitchers, we might be able to get someone else, mainly Samwell. Sorvala as a closer would be pretty good, but I think now is the time to take that little bit of infield help. None of the outfielders are really doing anything for me. So we have Floyd. Again, decent contact, meh power, not really feeling it. Whereas Wilkins has that really solid contact, just good at the plate in general. Will Glover also has really solid ability at the plate. And Barton as well is solid at the plate. And I think just because he's a guarantee, all of them are 4+ years away. We have the guarantee with Glover, which might not be a good thing, actually, if his potential's closer to being locked in. How do they compare outright? So, better power for Barton, from the looks of it. Better power for Barton. Better discipline there. Arm strength doesn't really matter. Better reaction for Glover. They pretty much balance out. One has slightly better power, the other has better contact. Where Wilkins, again, isn't that bad. I think what we're going to do, I'm going to trust the better vision and discipline. I'm going to go for Will Glover with this pick. We're going to pick up a first baseman. And the third base option is still there. So again, let me take one more look at starting pitchers, because we know that Sorvala's available, Barton's available, and Lee Wilkins is available. But I need to take a look at starters just one more time here. So Kimbrough is not an option. Winston Medina. The 50s and the 45 ruins it. Acevedo, I mean, he's 22 and 4+ years away, so screw that. There's Roger Samwell, where it's not a guarantee, but the break and home runs, that's looking pretty damn good. Antonio Gonzalez, not terrible, but not great. Reggie Dow will avoid. Preston Hurst, nothing too crazy. Freddie Perez, nothing too crazy. If I'm going to take another starter, I think it's fairly obvious who that's going to be, although Sean Ramirez is looking pretty good too as a substitute. So Samwell or Ramirez as a starting pitcher might not be the worst way to go. So we have 2 starting pitchers that I'm still interested in. A closer, but I think we'll go for the third baseman as well. Granted, we have Chavis there, but we could move him to second or short, or even Wilkins potentially. So I think we're going to take Wilkins here. And then hopefully we get one of the 2 starters and the closer that I'm interested in. So I'm going to take Lee Wilkins with that pick. I'm trying to see here, but man, it scrolls so fast. Let's find out. Esposito's off the board. Who else is off the board? Medina as a starter. I think we're okay. As far as who I wanted, I think we're okay. Samwell's still there. Sorvala's still there. Not bad. Douglas Barton's still there as well. I think I'm going to go for Samwell. Because we already have a couple of solid closers. Let's take another starter. I'm going to take Roger Samwell with this next pick. And if by some miracle that closer's still there, we're going to have ourselves a steal from the looks of it. And Sorvala's still there. So that's not even a question. I feel as though, like, again, hindsight's going to be a hell of a thing when this doesn't end up being a home run for me, when all of these players aren't home runs. But I can tell you right now, in the moment, I'm very happy with how this draft has panned out. And now we get to the last round where, again, it's just a shot in the dark, hope for the best. So we could take a closer. Second baseman, not so much. I'd say probably a closer, another outfielder might be the best way to go. Again, we just don't have much to go off of here, though. The only thing to do would just be to check whether or not someone's injury prone. But even then, that wouldn't be accurate. So, in terms of MLB ETA, in terms of that higher rated potential, Cuevas is there. Again, stats literally don't matter. Could take another reliever. Might be worth just trying to get a catcher into the system, though. Again, we have at least 2 outfielders. Actually, in fairness, we have 3 now. So yeah, you know what? We might just take the risk with a catcher here. And based off of age, it's going to be Johnny Burden or George Acevedo. Average there. Can also play left and center. Average injury risk. Let's go for Johnny Burden. He's the youngest. We'll see what happens. We'll take Johnny Burden in the last round just to get a catcher into the system. And with that, the Season 2 draft has come to a close. Let's take a look. Let's see how we did to close out this episode. Hello, Brian Lopez. The rest of the way, it looks rough. But Brian Lopez and potentially Sam Wallace make it worth it. Let's go. 21 years old, 71 overall, A potential. Goddamn. And again, just for how versatile he is, that is ridiculous. No regrets, at least at the moment, of taking one Brian Lopez. Good stuff. And we will obviously look to sign him. And to be honest, I'm going to pay him a little bit more money because, I mean, he's going to be on the roster next year as it is. Sam Wallace, not bad. 69 overall, very nice. Not over the 70 mark, but again, A potential at a young age. There we go. Very happy about that. We absolutely hit the mark with the first 2 picks of Lopez and Wallace. Not too shabby. Will Glover for a C potential option isn't terrible. And 57 overall, you could easily see him becoming like a pinch hitting expert. We'll still sign him. 20 years old, 57 overall. It's not too bad. He might even end up on the roster immediately. Lee Wilkins, similar situation. 19 years old, 58 overall. Decent contact, decent stealing. The speed leaves a bit to be desired, but it doesn't end up being like this instant game changer either, but he could carve out a spot for us. Roger Samwell, see potential, but he's a 65 overall at 19 years old with looking like Dan Herron's kid. We'll go ahead and sign him up as well. Not bad. So 2 game changers and some decent depth. Sorvala's a 68 at 22 years old, 79 potential. So see potential for him as well. So someone else who should be a pretty solid option in the bullpen for years to come. The only guy we will not be signing is Johnny Burden, although odds are we will end up signing him at a later date. But overall, I'm very happy with that draft. Lopez and Wallace are solid, and we at least get some decent depth options for the rest of the way. I don't remember who went number 1, but you have teams like Milwaukee who picked up Vladimir Mesa, who is a big-time project but has time to develop. Danny Helm, not so much. Is there anybody else here? I mainly want to look at first-round picks, like Mike Fitch isn't terrible. I wanted to look at first-round options and players that we were contemplating and that maybe we missed out on. Like Lincoln Compton might not be that bad, and Lincoln Hershiser, I should say, might end up. He's going to be a pretty damn good C potential guy for them. Napoleon Fisher, not that bad, has a bit of a way to go, but you can see here, in terms of knocking it out of the park in the later rounds, it's hit or miss for a lot of teams. You have Damian Bale as well, so I'm very happy, at the moment at least, with who we took in the first 2 rounds. If you see any names here that you were interested in, let me know. Even Julius Lewis, I feel like we took the right pitcher at the right time. But yeah, see, we could have had a draft like the Dodgers, and we didn't do that. And thank God I didn't take Sergio Montez, because that could have been a disaster. Roderick Floyd even just has way too long to go. So as you can kind of tell by how some of these other teams did, we did very, very well. I'm extremely happy with that draft. And guys like Lopez, Wallace will add to an already decent foundation. That outfield, Rosario, Lopez, and Ryder already, that could be the outfield setup for us over the next decade plus. So 2 years down, or at least a year and a half down, 2 drafts down, and I already have a bit of optimism heading into the future. It's still going to take us a little bit of time, of course. It's going to take a lot of time for these guys to develop, and in terms of getting organizational depth, that's going to take a very, very long time. But we're looking pretty damn good moving forward, and then not to mention, if we pick up the likes of Fado and Chavis throughout the Rule 5, if we get lucky every year and are able to bring in some decent players, we're going to be looking that much better moving forward. So I'm excited to see how this series really progresses. I feel like already the foundation is there, it's in place, and we're only going to get better. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm glad you checked out this series. I do thank you for it. Very excited for this, in case you couldn't tell. Bringing Draft to Glory to MLB. Long overdue, in my opinion. It was tough to say goodbye to that Blue Jays series, but I'm fully engaged and fully on board with this series. So that said, again, thank you very much for watching. You know the deal. Support the video, support the channel, subscription buttons and bells and whistles and likes and dislikes. You know how it goes. Check out everything in the description if you haven't already. And until next time, have a good one, and I'll catch you later.